A time machine back to May 1965, the Beatles swinging 60s, and Marvel 1965, all the issues for May. I love these covers, absolutely brilliant. Lots of fun characters, Scarlet Witch, obviously Sgt Fury, Submariner and Spidey, and of course many others. Can you recognise them all? As ever, the covers of all the issues for May, as well as I think you'll probably find August and a few others. They just generally do it around that period of time. And you can see there all the issues included. This costs $100. I paid about 50 odd pounds for it. 496 pages, and it's in hardback. There's a few extras at the back, and this is the absolutely stunning. I love that one with Hydra. Really good. And also, of course, on the back, the Skycraft, as it was called in this issue. So this is Strange Tales 135, of course the first appearance of S.H.I.E.L.D. Of course Sgt Fury had been going for a bit of time. Also of course Sgt Fury turned up as Nick Fury in the Hatemonger issue of Fantastic Four. So let's just go through this book. I think it's just great. Part of a series that came out in 1961, 62, 63, 64 and now finally 1965. And I just think of these as a time machine. They're just brilliant as a time machine. So you can literally just pick it off the shelf. And like a record, you can put a record obviously on. This is the equivalent, everything for that month. You got obviously Submariner there. That was the first issue, of course. Submariner turning up, replacing Giant Man. Must admit, I was quite disappointed. Giant Man was a real favourite of mine. But still, you can see there, you've got Patsy Walker and you've got Green Goblin, etc. And onto all the various writers, pencilers, inkers, letterers and editor there. And wow, what a long list of old greats there. The contents are pretty impressive as well. You see, many of them have still got sort of multiple stories in them. I think that's just great. Also includes all the letters pages, also includes the checklists and much, much more. Here's more of the contents again. And we get a lovely introduction. Of course, S.H.I.E.L.D. and Submariner are the key ones for this issue. Now, I was thinking about 1966, 1967, and I did put a post up thinking, what are they going to do there? Will they go for some supervillains maybe? Or maybe Black Panther for 1966 is a possible. 1967, I was struggling, I must admit. 1968, very hard because it's Silver Surfer, Captain Marvel, etc. So a bit hard to decide which one. 69, I couldn't think of anything that would fit for this. Still, I hope they do 1969. There you got the Juggernaut. I remember that issue. Just a classic. Really brilliant one. This one, Alex Toth. Always looked slightly odd when you go through it, the artwork. It really does look, but it's the Juggernaut. First appearance of the Juggernaut. A classic character, of course, in its own right. So that was the brilliant. Of course, we learned the origins or a little bit more about Professor X. I'm certain they changed it over time. You've also got the adverts. Also, you've got these Merry Marvel bullpen pages, which I just absolutely love. The checklist and, of course, the letters. I love letters because, of course, you read through the comments. Obviously, probably a few issues before. But it's just fascinating to read what people were thinking at the time, their favourites. Sometimes people say, my favourite was Sgt Fury, sometimes it was Patsy Walker, etc. Then we got To Kill a Thunder God, of course, we got the Destroyer, really powerful villain there. Well, not really particularly a villain, but still, Thor obviously having a bit of a problem there. Also, of course, at that point, we were having the Tales of Asgard. I really enjoyed those. They were really good tales. And of course, yet some more brilliant adverts. Now, sometimes you actually see ones that are not included. It says on sale now. Obviously, it's not exactly the same as in this book. And there you got the greatest action thriller of all time. And Nick Fury replacing the Human Torch and the Thing, of course, in Strange Tales. And wow, great issues. I really loved S.H.I.E.L.D. Bought the Omnibus edition. Brilliant book. And then you've got Doctor Strange. Great, they advertise it just opposite. And you've got Doctor Strange there, Eternity Beckons. Yet again, another classic story. There were some real good stories in this month. I mean, obviously Juggernaut. This one, Dormammu, of course. Brilliant. Now, I was never particularly enamoured by this set of stories. It was an odd one, but still, over time, it actually built up to quite an interesting story. The Start of the Quest. Very odd first issue, but still really good. And you've got Tales to Astonish, of course. And you've got the Hulk there. What does it say? Disaster strikes the Incredible Hulk. To live again. I love that glove. Did they ever bring that back? Or it's plastic, apparently. I always thought the leader could bring him back. I mean, he was a pretty powerful character in it, but it just never did. Does seem quite a lot of Patsy and Hedy and Millie as well in this book. Quite a few sort of sections. They, of course, have Patsy and Hedy, Pasty Walker, modelling with Millie, and so on. And they're quite good stories, though. It's a bit of a story with Buzz. Of course, Buzz became later, well, not a super villain, but certainly a major villain with the Avengers. And, of course, Hellcat as well. But great little stories. I always love these bits where they always add them up. I always wonder how many people actually cut them up. I've actually had a few of these various Patsy comics, and they have had these cut out. So obviously people did put them on and try out the various clothes. And we got Rawhide Kid, the Riverboat Raiders, a few westerns as well. We've obviously got Two Gun as well, and also a few other stories as well with other characters that didn't go on to greater things. You got this one, Gabbo, the world's greatest ventriloquist, and Hugo. And I love again, as always, they put this. They put the T-shirt that's actually obviously the Westerns one. So you've got there Two Gun Kid, Rawhide Kid, and Kid Colt riding the trail. Rawhide again. You've got some really good ones, and quite often they actually mention the other comics, of course, and about the Hulk. Not a love story. Obviously, people would have known that, I'm quite certain. But you've got obviously the Mighty Marvel. Check this. One thing I never realised until later when I was going through them all, that they never actually include the issue that's actually this one. So you've always got that one stripped out of it. I don't know why they did that, why they just didn't sort of just include the lot. Just would have made much more sense. You could just see every single issue for that month, maybe a little bit of blurb. And then, of course, you got this one, which again was yet another classic. I loved the Frightful Four, especially this period with Medusa, of course, Sandman, Trapster, and the Wizard. And you can see there, obviously, using her hair as a fan as well. And the thing has become, obviously, part of the Frightful Four, or the Frightful Five, I suppose, at that point. You got the T-shirt with the Fantastic Four in this one. And here they're discussing Fantastic Four issue 37. Oh, classic one. Bring back my Goblin to me. I have to say, I was at the Crimemaster as well, of course. Obviously, trying to work out who is the greatest crime lord in the city. Some brilliant Ditko art, of course. And there's Foswell as well. Strange enough, Spider-Man gets the T-shirt this time. This was an odd issue. Of course, in the UK, we had a slight variation of the title and the character as well. But still, when the Commissar commands, does he command? Well, of course, there's a twist in the tale, but it was great. I loved the Captain America, Hawkeye, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. That was probably my really favourite period of the Avengers at that time. I just love those stories. And you got here, obviously, cover pencilers. It gives all the covers. Now, the covers actually also, some of the covers, various variants anyway, are later in the book as well, but they do at least include the covers with the story, which is great, just going through it in that way. And the Avengers T-shirt this time. At this point, of course, they were still talking about Thor and Iron Man, etc. Avengers issue 15. If a Man Be Mad. Not one of my favourite stories of, obviously, Tony Stark, as well as, obviously, Captain America there, the Sentinel and the Spy. I remember at the time getting the annual, and it had that story. Completely confused me with it obviously being set in the wartime. Just couldn't understand that at all. But still, you've got this to carry. Obviously some very weird aliens. I don't know if they ever turned up. Apparently they had a moon base. I don't know if they bumped into the Watcher occasionally. And there is Captain America. Good to see Red Skull advertising as well. The Iron Man T-shirt. And we got Sgt Fury, the Blitz Squad strikes. And it's good old Baron Strucker again. He turns up quite a few times, I think. Of course, turns up later in Hydra as well, which is always pretty good. These were good. I hope at some point they bring out some more omnibus editions for Sgt Fury. Well, any would be nice, wouldn't it? I mean, what's happened to them? I know they've got some epics too. Are there ever going to be a third epic? Who knows? This time, we get Sgt Fury and the Howling Commandos T-shirt. And Baron Strucker is advertising it this time. Very generous of him. This was a great one. Wallywood. I love that sequence. That period of time when Wallywood was doing it. It only lasted about 4 or 5 issues. But wow, some really good stories. And of course, at the end, there's Foggy. I hate myself. Speaking about is my partner, etc. And my best friend. And he, of course, obviously wants Karen at that point. And this time we get Daredevil. Oh, we get this guy. So you didn't want to join the MMS? MMS. That was a bit of a mouthful, wasn't it? The Mighty Marvel Marching Society. And there's obviously the Daredevil's letters, which I always, again, love to read. And this is issue 7. Of course, that was the classic one with Submariner, one of the best early Daredevils anyway. And yet more modelling with Millie. Love the character there. Clicker. Clicker, what a name. Is that a common name in America? I wonder. Clicker. Never ever heard of anyone called Clicker. Of course, it's advertising the Millie the Model. And you've also got these lovely hairstyles as well. They always had it. And I always love the names as well they included. I think it was just great. Stunning Valentine Day. It's just got their name and obviously location as well. Freeport, Illinois. Now on to Patsy. No Greater Love. Of course, Buzz is still in the storyline. Yes, actually at this point, it's actually quite a dramatic storyline. It was quite weird. I thought, wow. Of course, it was the Vietnam. He was off, big battle in Vietnam. I must have completely didn't realise that storyline. But it's really brought in the real world into the Marvel universe at that point. I know that obviously Iron Man was often going on with Vietnam and all the conflicts, but it was the soldiers and quite interesting that they actually included this. Obviously here he was slightly injured. Obviously he was taking time to recover. And then he was off again. And there he is. Of course, later on, become an evil villain. So was it all Hedy's fault that actually he became a supervillain? We had the, Sinister Squad and all that sort of stuff. Patsy pen pals, and you've also got Mike Herald, war correspondent. I don't know if he ever turned up again. I guess he did. And some more hairdos. One thing I love about this book, the really nice quality paper. That's a great thing about it. Most of the omnibus ones, you've got very shiny paper. The paper isn't really that bad here. It's just really quite nice, very superior quality paper, which is like all the others. 61, 62, 63, they've all had the same style, which I think is just great. I really hope they continue on that. If they do continue the series. You've got the Missing Mustangs. And you've got this, the Judge. Again, T-shirts again. And also the Panther. Now, a couple of issues later, of course, we had the Black Panther. Return of the Bad Man. I don't know what happened here, but this obviously clearly was one of the earliest stories. This was 1961, apparently. January 1961 story. And Millie again. The Truth About Agnes. And, of course, the Marvellous Mail for Millie. Well, of course, can't have one without specials, can you? Some extras at the end. Now, I think it would be really nice if they'd had a really massive, long essay talking about 1965. I would have loved that, probably more so than any of these extras, because some of the extras I've seen before, but it would be nice to have had that. There is a little bit of an sort of essay, which is good, but they've got this, which of course is a classic bit, and it's inevitable that's going to be in, isn't it? Because of course this is the precursor of the Shield, the man called Diath. Page 1, original art, it says there. And on to the next one you've got there, the Skycraft, as it was called there. And of course you've got some other inked page there, original art. And obviously with Hydra in there. And then we've got some bit of Destroyer, some Avengers, which is weird. It doesn't look like the Avengers story is actually not the one that's included, which is odd. An odd bit of Shield there. I love these. All the various T-shirts there. $1.50. And you've got X-Men. And Iron Man. And they got these as well, which is slightly odd, but still perfectly reasonable. Some great ones. Fantastic First, as well as, of course, the Shield omnibus cover. And you've got some little essays at the back, 1975. This one's slightly odd because, of course, Submariner, but it's, of course, Imperious Rex. And at the back, you've got a list of all the characters that appeared on the front cover. So, wow, what a brilliant volume. Are you going to buy this? I think this is just superb. I'm really, really over the moon this has finally come out. I never thought they would get through all the way through to 1965, 64 even. But 65, let's hope 1966. And I know lots of people really, really don't like this series. Quite often I see comments, people saying, it's terrible, really terrible. I've got all the material, and obviously probably all the various modelling with Millie is not of interest to everyone. But I think it's just like, say, a time machine. It's just like literally going to a newsstand. They could have called the series the Newsstand Omnibuses, and you could go there and just look at what was on the newsstand at that particular moment. And I just love that. Often, a nice time machine would be great. Well, this is about the closest I'm going to get to a time machine, and all for 50 quid, which I think is reasonable value for a time machine. So a like or dislike, always appreciated. Also, please subscribe to the channel. Always adding new videos all the time. Bye.